Midday Treat with NAZ Elite, a monthly podcast in which I chat with HOKA NAZ Elite team members, and you'll get a behind-the-scenes scoop on their training, racing, and everyday lives. I'm your host, Eric Senseman. You can find our monthly podcast on SoundCloud by searching HOKA NAZ Elite, and you can learn more about the faces behind the team by visiting their website, nazelite.com, their Facebook page, Northern Arizona Elite, or their Instagram and Twitter, both at NAZ_Elite. Welcome to this episode of the NAZ Elite podcast. I am here this time with Ben Rosario. How you doing, Coach Ben?
Good, I'm great.
Good,
I'm great.
Good. This is, I think, the third time now you've been on the pod. You've hosted the pod. You've been all over.
I've been on the pod. It's nice to do these where it's just you and I, and we can kind of talk about everybody and wrap things up. Well, at least this time around,
right.
Wrap up 2018, look forward to 2019, and get everybody kind of up to speed on where all of our athletes are at, which, you know, when we do the individual podcasts, it's usually focused on that individual.
That's right.
So this is a little more overarching.
It is. So it'll be fun.
I think so.
Plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
I want to start with a tweet that you put out, I think within the last month.
Okay.
Where you sort of just outlined everything the team's done. And then you were just kind of like, you want to call us underdogs? All right.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's a good kind of, to put it into perspective, a place to start in terms of the successes of the team this year.
Yeah, I remember
I
the impetus. I remember the impetus for that was something that I had read in some sort of article that, it once again referred, I believe, maybe to Fauble as, an underdog or something, which is I just find to be ridiculous. I don't know what the guy has to do, I mean, he performs every time out.
Yeah.
And I think the team in general, it's just like, what do you want from us?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that tweet that you're referring to was specific to the marathon, where I think over over a 20 or a 13-month period going back to Chicago of 17,
right?
We had how many 212 marathons on the guys' side? Geez,
like
212
5.
and 213.
Yeah.
It was like Aaron had 2, Fauble had 2, Scott Smith had 1, Matt had 1, and then we were top 10 at Boston, we were top 10 at London, we were top 10 at New York twice in 2017, and then again had a top 10 in 2018. It was just a really good year for us, and so I was just feeling
you wanted to let people
I was feeling
know.
Slighted.
Yeah, that's fair.
But not myself. I mean, I was feeling like they were slighted. They were being slighted, which that is what annoys me.
Yeah.
But no, I think for the most part, the educated fans certainly understand that we've had a great year, and we have, and it hasn't just been the marathon. It's been a really good year overall at all sorts of distances all over the globe. So. Yeah.
Coming into this year, there were some additions to the team. Team looks quite a bit different now than it did, I guess, a year and a half ago. Just with the new additions to the team.
Yeah.
Mostly.
I mean, with the rookies, we brought in the women. I mean, obviously the core has remained the same for a long, long time.
That's true.
With Steph and Ben and Scott Smith and Kellen. I mean, they've been here since the beginning, so they've been the core for a long time. But no, I think the addition of the women in the summer, Alice Wright, Erin Clark, Danny Shanahan, and Grayson Murphy. Those, I can't speak highly enough about those 4 and what they've brought to the team in terms of energy and positivity and hope for the future. It's nice to have those 4 training alongside Steph and Kellen and Alafine, who have all these credentials, and it's fun to see the young women sort of just slide right into that mode, that Steph and Kellen and Alafine have created or have already established.
Yep, right.
And I think again they fit right in, so that's very promising.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of step back and walk through the year. They came in. I guess I thought it was earlier in the year, but they came
summer
in
after they were done with their NCAA seasons.
Right. But in starting the year, it was still largely just the core group that people are familiar with.
Yeah.
But things kind of started off well and continued to go well.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe you want to talk about what were your expectations coming into the year? Did you anticipate adding 4 athletes in the middle? Did you what did you think coming into the year?
No, that's a good question. Yes, I knew that we wanted to add athletes on the female side. Mm-hmm. So that recruiting process had already begun, and that was certainly for me, at least as on the executive director side, a big goal for 2018 was to add some really high quality female athletes to the roster. And so I was recruiting all of those athletes and a couple others, in the spring season, NCAAs, talking to their coaches, talking to them. And then really, I'm honestly being truthful. Those were my top choices, Aaron, Danny, Alice, and Grayson. And so we were able to sign all those 4 athletes, which was really cool. I didn't know if we'd get all 4. I was like, if we could get 3 of these 4, this would be great, but we got all 4, which was super cool. So from a roster standpoint, that was really, really key. Yep. From a performance standpoint, I remember at the beginning of the year we had a meeting. We always have a big January meeting, and this time we brought in a speaker, and he took us through a bunch of motivational exercise or team building exercises. Really, I would call it. He is a motivational speaker, but he was really focused on team building. And one of the things I talked about in that meeting was just sort of getting away from this idea of focusing so much on times.
Sure.
Because the thing is, we're trying to compete. We're trying to race. We're trying to beat people, and you get too caught up in the times, and they start infiltrating your mind, and telling you that you're not good unless you run X, right. But that's just not really true. And when it comes down to the biggest races in the world, it's not about time. The Bostons, the New Yorks, the Olympic trials, the Olympics themselves. It's about finishing as high as you can, right. And being on the podium. Yeah. And so that was my and plus, look, we don't need to write these times on. I know that they want to run these times. This is a very motivated bunch. Yeah. And so they already know what they want to run. I didn't want to spend that meeting, writing goals that were time oriented on a chalkboard. I wanted to talk about the process and the process of improving. Yeah. Because I feel like they're so good at this point that, look, if we just improve. And we know what that means. If we get better, tangibly better, in every way, shape, and form, then the times are going to come. Sure. They're going to come. If we're running better workouts, if we're training at a higher level, those things are going to happen, and they did.
And so would you call that a shift in the culture of the team environment with kind of this approach, or was that always kind of the approach? You just wanted to reinforce it,
No, I think it was a shift. Okay. I think it was an organic shift. I think it happened naturally because the roster is such that we have really good competitors on the team. Right. So it's about finding races where we can put them in a position to succeed. Yeah. So you look for races that aren't these time trials, you look for races where they're going to be able to race and try to compete. Whether it's Kellen winning grandmas, we didn't even talk about the overall time, her and I swear. We just talked about running her race, and we talked about a per mile range, but we wanted to win the race, and then
was she within that range, or was she
was at the fast end of it? I was gonna say faster probably than the fast end of it, but and we could talk about some of the individual performances, but as a whole, I think you were mentioning earlier, it started off kind of with a bang because we ran very well at the U.S. Cross Country Championships in February. Mm-hmm. That race wasn't a world qualifier, but it's still the U.S. Cross Country Championships, which we always put a decent emphasis on cross country, and that kind of got everybody going. And then next thing it's springtime, and Scott Smith's getting 6th at Boston, and Steph's getting 10th at London, and we're having people finish high at national championships. Faubles getting 2nd at the U.S. 25K, and then Alphine wins the 25K, wins the half. 2nd at the Boulder, 2nd at the Mini 10K, and then Steph wins the national title in July. Fauble gets 2nd at Falmouth. Bronny runs so well in Chicago. And of course, we had a good day in New York with Fob 7th and Steph 11th, and and then Kellen crushed it at Vegas. It just seemed like every time somebody stepped to the top and had all the attention, then somebody won up them. Exactly. And that's what I like about the team. So it was just a good year all around. And the rookies, those ladies coming in the summer, like I said, just kind of gave a boost, I think, to the morale and to the culture, and they ran well also. It's just a great year.
I'm curious with the sort of the maturing process with the rookies coming in. We'll just refer to the group as the rookies, the 4 ladies. You've got Steph, you've got Kellen, who are established, who certainly great role models, primarily racing at the marathon distance. I mean, they race a lot of distances, but that's kind of the big one for them. Alafine, on the other hand, is running shorter distance races than the marathon, more in line with these ladies coming out of college in terms of the races they're really focusing on. So what do you see that is the right mix for these ladies coming in? Like they have Alafine, who is a veteran but who's racing more their style right now, but then they also have the Kellen and the Steph doing the little bit long, focusing a little bit longer. And do you just think it's kind of the right environment for those ladies to really flourish in the next couple years?
I do. I think that all of the veterans though are pretty darn good across the board. I mean, Kellen PR'd in the mile last year, right? 4:33. And
didn't she had several PRs?
She PR'd in the mile and the half marathon. Yeah. Oh, the mile on the track, the 10K on the road, the half marathon, and the marathon.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Yeah.
And Steph crushed it in the 10K. Alafine crushed it in the 10K. So I think the marathon seems a long way off for the young ladies. Sure. But I think they take a lot of confidence in what they saw Kellen, Steph, and Alafine do from the mile to the 10K.
Yeah.
And Kellen and Alafine have faster PRs than any of those ladies in the 5K, and all 3, Steph, Kellen, and Alafine, have faster PRs than any of those ladies have in the 10K on the track. So I think. It's very obvious that, hey, let's follow this path and we'll be on our way. Yeah. So, and we really, I don't mind when people call us a marathon group. I think if you look at our history, we've been very good across the board.
Sure.
We finished higher in the 10,000 at the Olympic trials than we did in the marathon. But we've never. I don't know what that means. Is my point, because we train to be good at distance running.
Sure.
And we've been good across the board, and our training is very diverse, and we do a lot of different things throughout the year. Of course, we get very specific to the marathon when a marathon is upon us.
Yep.
No, I think that's why we've been able to continue to set PRs at shorter distances as well, because we have not forgotten about those zones and the value of those zones all the time.
We've got quite a bit to cover, so I want to mostly stay on track, but a quick tangent. It kind of goes beyond 2018 recap, but I'm curious, just given this conversation, when do you so it seems like people are moving to the marathon at a later age maybe than what's historically been true. So you see people going to the marathon maybe later in their 20s, maybe even like 30, early 30s. Do you think... And so now you have some younger ladies who are getting involved. And from what you just said, it sounds like it's going to be a little ways before they get to the marathon. Is that kind of your approach as a coach, is get really good at this shorter stuff and then move on to the marathon? Like, why not go to the marathon sooner, I guess?
No, I don't think that's my approach.
Okay. Yeah,
I think my approach is evaluate each athlete individually and see what they're best at and try to get them into their best event in the prime of their career.
Okay. Yeah.
So for an athlete like Alice Wright, she's already she did a lot more mileage. She came from a higher mileage-based program in college, excelled at tempo runs, excelled at the 10,000 meter distance on the track. Clearly was better at that than she was at 5,000 or 3,000.
Sure.
And came ready, much more ready to get to the marathon quicker. And clearly that's going to be her best event.
Right.
So she'll probably run it at 25 years old next year.
Right.
Whereas, sometime in 2019. Fauble ran his debut at 25 years old. And that's why you see him as one of the top guys in the country now, because he's in the prime of his career running what is his prime event.
Right.
I actually think a lot of people wait too long. Now, all that to say, I don't know about Aaron Clark, Grayson Murphy, Danny Shane. I don't know yet.
Sure.
They don't have that mileage background that Alice does. And so we've got to continue to watch them work out and see what they respond to and see how they race and see what distances they seem to excel at. I have no interest in putting somebody in the marathon if that's not their best event.
Right.
So
totally.
To me, it's not an age thing or an experience thing. It's a, what are you best at?
Sure.
And I can only go off what I see.
Right.
And so, I think there's been athletes that come out of college that have waited too long. to be honest with you, because they're so intent on continuing to PR at 5,000 and 10,000, but it's just because it's kind of ingrained in their heads. I wish they would just give it a shot.
Right.
What's the harm in it?
Yeah.
Because what's the best case scenario is you find out you're really great at the marathon, and now you got your thing. And the worst case is you got a great season of base in, you didn't like it, and you go back to the shorter stuff.
Right.
So actually that's kind of my philosophy.
That makes sense. Good. So we'll get back to the script.
Go back to the script.
I want to talk about the marathons a little more. What you said early on here about your January meeting sheds a lot of light, I think, on the marathons that were picked this year.
Yeah, for sure.
So what... I guess walking through those decisions and then seeing the results, I've got to think that reinforces your thought process on your approach this year.
Yes. I think we picked the right ones for sure, for the most part. Steph doing London ended up kind of being a bummer because that was a pretty hot day. And it just and she was a little off that day for various reasons, some of which were outside of her control. And, it was just kind of but hey, if a blah day is 10th at London, that's not so bad.
No.
I think Boston was a great pick for Kellen and Scott Smith, and they were in unbelievable shape. Scott Smith, let me tell you something, that was the best shape I've ever seen someone on our team.
Really?
Honestly.
Wow.
Honestly. And I think Fauble and others would agree.
Wow.
His Boston segment was just unreal. He's running 130 miles a week. So was Kellen. They were running the exact same mileage, the exact same workouts, different paces.
Sure.
And I've just never seen anyone as fit as those two were.
Wow.
But then we didn't get... It was a bummer because the race was such that... I mean, Kellen... There's just... Look, I've gone over it a million times in my head. I just don't think there's anything we could have done.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I think about what she could have worn, she still would have got soaked through. I mean, everybody was soaked through. And she just gets cold. Yeah. I mean, her lips were blue 2 days before the race, just standing outside doing a meet and greet with the fans. Jeez. And it wasn't even anything compared to what it was on race morning. Yeah. And so she can, don't get me wrong, she's extremely tough and she can handle the cold. Yep. But it's one thing to handle the cold for a 10-mile run. It's another thing to race in the cold, rain, and wind for 2+ hours.
And perform your best, yeah.
It just wasn't going to happen. She was frozen. I could tell watching on the screen, But I don't think we made a bad choice. It was a perfect choice for her. And I wonder what would have happened, on a nicer day.
Something tells me we'll see her there again.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But Scott Smith got 6th place. Got 6th place in Boston. I was a little disappointed because, again, I just think it would have been fun to see him on that course with the fitness he had. Sure. But we'll take 6th place at Boston.
Absolutely.
Coming back and running grandma's was obviously a great choice for Kellen because she ran 2:24, which is really, really fast. And that was really a big-time validation because she is very underrated.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to take a minute to talk about that performance. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it not 7th?
It made her the 7th fastest U.S. female of all time. There are more than 7 performances faster than that, but they're by multiple people.
7th fastest performer.
Yeah, Dina has done a number of them, et cetera. But she's the 7th fastest.
That's incredible.
I think it's incredible. I mean, as much as you want to focus on just getting better and improving in the process, it is nice to validate your hard work, and especially when you can say, hey, only 6 women in the history of the United States, United States distance running have ever run faster than me. That's cool. That's cool validation for all the work she's put in. And we just have known for a long time that she's been that fit a couple of different times and run very well, but just for whatever reason, just not quite the day. Yep. And she never run bad in a marathon ever. But that was a big day. It really clicked. And it was a fast day. Look, I'm not going to sit here and lie, but it wasn't crazy. I mean, it was in the 50s. Yeah. It wasn't like a cool, crisp 40-degree morning. There was a slight tailwind at times, slight crosswind at times, and she ran 1:12:30 and then 1:11:59. And the second half of the course has no net downhill, no nothing. I mean, it's the harder half. Yeah. So it was really an incredible run. Yeah. Really, and she was full of running at the end. Zero fade, absolutely. Could have kept running. Yeah. So it was impressive, really impressive.
Yeah, so that was in the summer, and then again moving along, you had Bronny at Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's a great race for him. He's a good rhythm runner, and he ran faster than last year, which was nice. Yeah, 2:13:16. Man, he was on that. His PR is 54, and he was on pace till the last mile. It got a little nasty in that last mile. It got a little, I mean, I'm not making an excuse. It's just the fact. It got a little windy. So rain picked up a little bit, and it just made that last mile really hard.
Sure. And it isn't.
But I'm not saying he would have got it. I'm just saying it didn't do him any favors.
Sure.
Yeah. So he struggled that last mile.
No, you got to slide up.
You get that hill.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, it's the only hill on the course.
Right.
But we knew that was coming.
Only hill in Chicago, probably.
It's one of.
Yeah.
But no, that was a good choice for him. He had kind of a rough segment, so that was a very satisfying moment for him and for I to come out of that and have a really good performance. And I think if you keep having those really good performances, then you'll have the Kellen performance. You will.
Right.
It's when you're super inconsistent that then you're just like, I don't know. But when you're running well every time, the real big one is going to happen.
Yeah, sure. So then that rolls into New York, obviously, Fable finishes second American.
Yep.
It was seventh, right?
Seventh place
overall. Steph just missed. She was 11th.
She was 11th, so just missed another top 10. She'd been 10th the year before, 10th at London. So, yeah, she's always going to be somebody that comes to play, for sure. And then she doubled back at CIM. Crazy.
With I would say, success.
Yeah.
That was to define it.
That was a cool way to end the year for her.
Yeah.
That was the best year of her career. I mean, for sure.
Start to finish,
we just talked about it the other day. I mean, the sport is such that it's all year round and there's all this stuff going on. So this is why this podcast is cool, right? It gives you a chance to sit down and say, wait a minute, this woman started off the year, she won Rock and Roll Arizona, she got third at US Cross, she got second at Gasparilla in a sprint to the finish with Sarah Hall.
Yep.
She got 10th at the London Marathon. She got second at Freihofer. She got let me think. I'll probably miss one.
Well, then she won.
Well, she got third at USA Track.
That's right.
First podium on the track. Outkicked Emily Sisson. Top 3 at US 10K on the track. Then a couple weeks later wins the US 10K Road Champs over Alafine, who was on fire.
Yep.
Then runs very well at Wharf to Wharf, 6 mile. That was kind of the end of the season. But then comes back, gets 6th place at Great North Half, 11th at New York, and 2nd at CIM. I mean, it's just an incredible year.
I hope she's taking a break. Right?
She took a long break. She's a 2-week break after CIM.
Yeah, no, that's in terms of volume of racing. Was that one of the bigger years?
She likes to race a lot, and earlier in her career did race a lot. But with the marathon, you don't always get as many chances. So it was nice that we were able to have that mini season in between London and New York. With New York being later in the fall, we were able to kind of get that summer season in,
right?
And that was cool.
Yeah,
I think it helped her because she really is as fast as she's ever been in her whole life.
Yeah, it's incredible.
She ran 32:05 at USA's in Des Moines. I mean, that race was a little bit tactical. It would have been fun to see her at a Stanford kind of day.
Sure.
But again, that's not what that's not what we're all about. She competed. Know, and I mean, and truthfully, I really do mean that. That was more fun and satisfying to watch her compete in a championship style race and get third.
Yeah.
Than it would have been to sit in line at Stanford and run 20 or 30 seconds faster, but I don't know what you finished. It doesn't even matter. Nobody even cares.
Sure.
I care.
Yeah.
I want to see you beat people. So I thought it was cool that she was able to get on the podium late in her career like this and show that she can still hang with the young kids.
Right.
Yeah.
With the young kids, yeah. Well, for those listening that are familiar with NAZ Elite, you might gather that we're working towards Performance of the Year conversation.
Yes.
We're kind of working through these many results. We haven't even spoken too much of all the rookies and Aaron, Danny, Grayson, and Alice, all their races.
Well, Alice she started off with a bang, right? Because she came to flag right after NCAA's, or very soon after NCAA's, and we had a few weeks to prepare for the European Championships, which are a really big deal in Europe. Yeah. She's from the UK. And it's hard because that was a big challenge because she's had such a long season. She had already run several 10Ks already.
Sure.
And we had to run another one. And she went there and got 6th place.
Yeah.
She did great. And, that's not really our training so much. It just it was mostly what she had done at New Mexico. But we were able to at least maintain that fitness, which was a challenge, and that was a huge performance. So it's always nice to get somebody off on the right foot, because then they they're excited and they feel like, okay, yes, I chose the right place,
right?
Which is important for them and their buy-in and also their relationship with me,
right?
And Grayson was the same way. Came out and got second at Great Cow Harbor 10K. Erin ran very well in her first race, got third at the Boston 10K.
Yep.
And Danny had a nice string. Ran okay at Cow Harbor. I thought ran very well at New York City, where she ran 16:20 for 5K on the roads.
Yep.
It wasn't a home run, but it was a nice performance.
Sure.
And then she got 16th at clubs, which I think was a little less than we had hoped for. But I think overall, with understanding the context of where she came from versus the others,
yes,
sea level.
Yep.
Never been outside of LA, never trained at altitude in her life, and Erin's coming from Colorado, Alice coming from New Mexico, Grayson's coming from Utah.
Yeah.
So it was a way bigger change for Danny.
I remember when we had her on the podcast, kind of her introductory one,
way
talking about
change.
that.
So I think overall the fall was a huge win for us with all of them, but certainly with Danny, because by the end of the fall, she was crushing workouts. I think we'll get to see the fruits of that labor in 2019.
Right.
But she was figuring it out.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've had that conversation. Or she's aware.
She's aware. She's aware that while she may have been disappointed in a couple of those races on paper, she knows, to my point earlier, she got better.
Yes.
She got better. And when you get better, it will pay off.
Yeah. So in terms of performance of the year, you guys narrow it down to 16, and then there's a voting process to get down to the...
Yeah, we've done this for the last couple of years, and it's funny, so... I just love that kind of stuff. It's very like sports radio-y,
totally.
Or whatever, or ESPN-y.
Yeah.
But yeah, we take the 16 and we do it tournament style. So you bet you vote on all the first round matchups. So it might be in this case Kellen's Las Vegas 110-13 win versus Scott Fauble's second place at Falmouth or whatever, and that's the first round matchup, and you kind of seed it a little bit. So
they do get seeded. Right?
Yeah, well, I do internally. People don't see the seeds, but you can kind of tell. You got the big ones on the opposite sides of the bracket, And then we vote first round for a couple of days. Then we open up the second round voting, so you see who won those matchups. Then you go to the next round, and then the final round. So it's like over about 10, 12-day period. So we've always had fun with it, and it gets thousands and thousands of votes online. So that's cool. The crazy thing about this year is it's very difficult to pick just 16.
Have you started the process?
Yeah, I've been working on it.
You got it down to 50 or something?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'll give you some examples. Like, Kellen ran a mile PR, 4:33 mile indoors for a quote-unquote marathoner.
Right.
I don't think that's going to make the list. It's just, there's just too many other good performances. I put out on Twitter to the fans, like, hey, what were some of your performances that you liked? And a couple people said Steph's Gasparilla half, where she got second in a sprint to Sarah Hall. I don't think that's going to make the top 16.
Really?
It's just, there's too many. Here's the crazy one.
Let's expand it to 32 this
Well,
year.
maybe. Yeah, that's very sports radio-y. But here's a crazy one. So Fobbs gets 7th in New York City. Last year, our number one performance, as voted by the fans, was Kellen Taylor's 8th place finish at New York City.
Yeah.
So now we have this year where somebody bested that, got 7th, and I don't think that's going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, how crazy is that?
That's crazy.
I'm not sure if it'll... I think it'll probably make the Final Four.
Right.
But it may not win.
It's good for business.
It's good for business. Yeah, it's good for HOKA.
Yeah.
It was just a really good year.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when can folks expect to start putting those votes in?
I think we'll open up the voting on Monday.
On Monday.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay.
I'm working with the online company that we use for the bracket. We've been emailing back and forth. It's a pretty cool
interface.
Yeah, is that what you call it? Yeah. It looks very professional,
right.
So
is this a new one?
No, we've used the same one. We've
used
the same one. So I was just chatting about the cost with this guy.
Right.
But I think we got it all figured out.
Cool.
So we'll start that on Monday.
It'd be the 17th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So look for that on various social channels. Mostly we really push it on Twitter and Facebook. But you vote. We send you to the link.
Sure.
And you vote.
And then you go there.
And you vote there. And it's not a popularity contest. Our fans are very educated.
That's right.
I do feel
this is performance. This is objective.
They're really, really like, what do you think was a better performance?
Right.
And so.
Can you vote more than once? You can, right?
Well, you can. I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I don't remember exactly the rules. They'll be posted. You certainly vote each round.
Right.
I think you probably can vote a certain number of times or something like that. Yeah.
That sounds right.
That's all. They figure. The computer people figure it out.
Right. I get it. Okay, good. Well, that's exciting to look forward to. Some other things, moving beyond just performances.
Yeah.
You got the shop. You got the NAZ Elite.
Yeah. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see this stuff. But if you're listening, I'll just describe it. So we had a very good little Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. We sold a bunch of this stuff, but we've got more left. I'll show you. So this is the beanie. This is a killer beanie. Yep. So if you're listening, it's one of the pom-pom beanies. It's got our HOKA Northern Arizona Elite patch on the very front of the hat. Then red and blue striped and a maroon and blue striped and a maroon. What do you call this? That's the pom-pom?
Pom-pom. That's
pom-pom, on top.
Yeah. Yep. Now, what does that run somebody?
What does that run you? I don't know. Maybe that's 20 or 25.
Yeah, that's a deal.
The baseball tee. So I'm a big baseball tee fan. So we got a gray tee with blue sleeves and then the logo in blue. This is one of my favorites personally. Is
that single color? Does it come in multiple colors?
No, just this look, and the athletes love that one. And then the hoodie that I'm wearing, which is a light blue with the logo in dark blue, real big across the chest. And I'm telling you, this thing is soft. Feel that, Eric.
I'm gonna feel that.
Is that soft or what?
I'm gonna have to buy one.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe we'll trade you for all your work.
There you go.
So we got that, and then we have a couple of cool things. One of the things we do from a business standpoint, to talk business for a second, is we're constantly trying to build our brand, of course, the HOKA NAZ Elite brand, but we're trying to help the athletes build their individual personal brands as well. And some of the athletes this year really took the bull by the horns, because one of the things we were talking about at a few of our different meetings was, hey, let's worry less about likes and clicks. Obviously, those are important, but let's just worry about putting out quality content and doing things that nobody else is doing. Because I think if you do that, at the end of the day, the clicks and everything else, they're going to be
people
there.
Are interested.
You're going to interact with the fans in a way that other people aren't doing, and I think that's what we really want to do. And so there's a lot of examples, but Steph Bruce came up with that whole grit campaign that she had going into New York. That was cool. Her idea.
Very cool.
And she produced and quite frankly paid for herself a really nice documentary that went episode by episode leading into New York. It was really well done. It was awesome. And then in conjunction with the documentary, made these shirts that just said grit on the front, real big. She sold hundreds of those.
Is that right?
Hundreds. And a portion of each sale went to the Sloan Kettering Cancer Foundation. She gave a big check to Sloan Kettering, hundreds of dollars. I mean, that's cool.
That's great.
That's super cool. I was really proud of her. Grayson Murphy, who's, just a rookie. You wouldn't think that she would do something like this, and yet already because she has a huge following on Instagram,
right?
At Racing Grayson, and she created this 2019 journal. So it's I think they call them bullet journals.
Oh, I saw that. Yes.
Really cool. All these cool doodles, and so you can plan out your whole year, and it serves as a planner, or if you wanted to, it can serve as a training log, or just quite frankly like a life log. Kind of a diary almost. It's sort of a comprehensive type deal, and she sold hundreds of those. Those are getting printed and mailed out this week. And then Forbes came up with this idea.
Are those available?
Those are all this stuff is available on nazelite.com/shop. nazelite.com, and if you go on there, there's a shop button on the nav bar.
Easy.
So Fauble came to me with this idea to document the New York City training segment as a whole. And essentially, the idea was he would recap each week in his own words, and I would recap each week in my own words from my perspective, and we wouldn't look at them. We would just each week do it leading up to New York.
Which was what? Is that 12 weeks?
Well, his segment was long for that. It was 4 months, so 18 to 20 weeks.
Okay.
And so we started doing it in hopes of then creating a book out of that at the end of it.
Right.
And I think it all seemed well and good until we got to the end and realized, okay, now we got to edit all of this text, all of these entries.
How many words did it end up being? Do you have a final count?
If you're on YouTube, you can see the book, and I'll flip through. It's got over 150 color pictures from the entire segment. The book is over 300 pages long. There's 20 some odd chapters. I think let's see, 22 chapters. There's the outlines that I wrote for the training, including the original, the revised, and then the final schedule. Fobbs put all his heart rate variability numbers on here and all his blood test numbers from throughout the segment. Cool. So for the runner nerd out there, they can nerd out on that. Yeah. Some of the chapters are really intense. There's the chapter about Falmouth where he got second is really very cool.
Yes.
The chapter about the Great North Half Marathon is very cool.
He was fourth there. That was a PR.
He was fourth in 102.18. He got nipped at the line at Falmouth and got second. There's a chapter early on where he gets really anxious about how things are going and is having some issues with anxiety, which he had issues with that in college as well. So he goes to see a sports psychologist and he takes you through this. He's very honest and open. I go through a couple of those moments where I'm a little worried about how things are going, and I get into that. And at the very end, we were almost getting a little too fried at the end, and we pulled back on a workout that we were going to do. So, I mean, we leave no stone unturned.
Sounds very raw.
It's very raw.
Yeah, raw footage.
It's very raw.
And you get a foreword by Des.
Des Linden wrote the foreword. 2018 Boston Marathon champ Des Linden. Yeah, she bought the book and left us a nice little note. And I thought, well, wait a minute. She obviously likes it.
Yeah.
Let's see if she'd be willing to write the forward. And she was.
Very cool.
So that was very cool. This thing, I'm telling you guys, I'm so proud of Scott because, again, to my point a second ago, it was his idea.
Right.
And that's what we're asking these athletes to do is build your own brand because it's only going to help you. It's only going to help us.
Right.
And it's only going to help HOKA.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're trying to raise brand awareness for HOKA.
Yeah.
We're trying to sell shoes. And if this book sells a couple thousand copies, I think that's going to help everyone.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be a big hit. I know we've already got a couple of book signings lined up. He's got one here in Denver next week. We're going to be on a bunch of podcasts promoting it, and I just think once it gets in people's hands, those people are going to be our best marketing tool because they're really going to like it. I showed it to our chiropractor yesterday, and he got goosebumps just looking at all the pictures.
Right? Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm proud of it. Fobbs is proud of it. Jen took all the pictures. I hope she's very proud of her work, and she formatted the whole book, and it's getting printed by a buddy of mine in St. Louis. So
cool.
It was really a joint effort by a lot of people.
That's neat.
A lot of people.
And I hear it's printing as we speak.
It's printing as we speak.
Yeah,
yes, it's being printed in St. Louis, and then it'll get shipped right out to everybody from there.
Okay.
So everybody should get it. That order, we had to cut the pre-order off because it was getting out of hand.
Really?
We had to make sure we had to make sure that we were going to be able to get that first order done and to everybody at a decent cost to us, so we didn't lose money on that first order. At the end of the day, it's going to end up selling for $28.
Okay.
So everybody who pre-ordered at $20 got quite a deal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how much it cost us, but it was a lot.
The margins are slim.
It was a lot more than we thought because of the color pictures.
Sure.
But here's the thing: we considered doing a black and white version or cutting out some of the pictures and trying to pare it down. But the thing was, the vision was to do something that nobody had ever done before.
Right.
Nobody had ever done this book where the coach and the athlete took you through the whole segment.
Sure.
And it's essentially a picture book. I mean, even if you didn't read the words, honestly, the candid pictures tell the story of the segment. So we didn't want to compromise what our vision was.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Just flipping through it. Yeah. So
thank you.
Well, good. So on the NAZ Elite website shop, a lot of merch, some other good stuff.
Yeah.
Like this book, Inside a Marathon. So yeah, another high note of the year, I would say.
I think so. Yeah. No, I'm excited about it. And again, it just speaks to that idea that, or goes along with that idea that we're just trying to do things that other people aren't doing.
Right.
And other people in this bubble this is nothing new.
Sure.
Every sports franchise has a website
right.
with a team shop,
Of course.
and they love to wear their stuff. And I hope our fans love to wear our stuff. It really means a lot to me when these orders come through. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're doing something right. And this book, man, we had a bunch of international orders. People were begging for this thing.
That's great.
All over the place.
That's great.
So anyway, I'm very proud of that. But let's get back to the itinerary.
Back to the script. That was a nice. We filled out that segment.
Yes,
nicely,
that was good. That was good. But I want to talk about the future.
Yes, 2019.
Okay.
We're going to wrap things up here. So this was a 2018 recap, but we will finish with the 2019 looking forward. That's right.
Yes.
So I'm going to start here, Ben. The ladies got quite a few more additions this year.
Yep.
I wonder if that'll happen with the men.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, for sure. Well, as our hardcore fans may know, Aaron Braun took a great job, and I'm really happy for him at Sacramento State University as the head cross-country coach, head track coach, assistant track coach, head of all the distance runners.
Okay.
And it's a great gig, one that he couldn't pass up, so he's not here anymore. I think he's going to be a member of the team for a while longer.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see something come out soon about what his spring plans are.
Right.
And you'll see some things come out about all of our runners and what their spring plans are. But
talk about a guy who can control a workout and get guys through it. Now gone.
He's going to be such a great coach, because he was a coach on the team. Yeah, he was a great leader. So you have to replace him, and it's hard to do. But we've got some irons in the fire, and I think probably by the first of the year, we'll have a full men's roster.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident in that, and I think everybody's going to really be excited about the additions. We're working on some of those things right now, and 2019 is so important for us because in terms of the marathon, the 2020 trials are February 29th. I mean, we're a year away here very shortly.
Yeah. Yep.
And so whether or not we make that team is going to be extremely based on what we do in 2019.
Correct.
How healthy we stay,
sure,
how hard we train, what our culture is, all those things are going to really have a huge impact on what happens in Atlanta in 2020. And so it was vital to me that we got that roster filled out as soon as possible so that we can all be on the same page moving forward. And even the track trials, I mean, they seem far away now, but as soon as we get into 19, they're not going to seem that far away.
No.
And so athletes that are focusing on the 5,000 and 10,000, this year is going to be huge because we got to make some jumps.
Yeah.
The young athletes have to go from that 32:15, 32:30 range to that sub 32 range on the women's side. Yeah. They've got to run 15:20 or faster, in the 5,000 to start feeling like, okay, that was a big jump. And now the next jump will take me to where I need to be to compete at the trials. And that's all you want.
Sure.
You just want a chance to compete. Obviously, if you're coming out as a multiple-time national champion, then your expectations are to make the team.
Right.
What we're looking for, we want to make the team. Don't get me wrong. But on an individual level, we just want everybody to have a shot. Because if we feel like everybody has a shot, then we're gonna get there.
Sure.
Somebody's gonna get there. And so 2019, for those reasons, is a very important year.
Yep. And so, I guess it's too soon to really map things out.
I can give you a general idea.
Yeah. What we could safely assume no one's running a big fall marathon.
I don't know if I'd say that.
At least not late fall.
Well, here's what I think. Here's what I think about the fall. I think all of our marathoners that are looking to make the team or try to make the team, I think they all should run at least one more.
In 2019.
In 2019, yeah. Some might run two, depending on their past experience. The really experienced marathoners, I don't think they need two more, but maybe a couple do.
Sure.
So I think you'll see some people run a spring, some people run a fall, and maybe some do both.
Okay.
As far as late fall, I agree with you to an extent, although February 29th is pretty late. And I think some of us who recover very quickly, maybe one or two, who recover very quickly could run a fairly late fall marathon.
I think Steph Bruce might be one of those.
Well, she certainly does recover quickly.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I think you'll see us run a marathon in either late September, anywhere from late September to early November.
Okay.
Obviously, we wouldn't do any later than that.
Right.
In the fall. But that won't be everybody. Some people you'll see run here in the spring, and those announcements are actually coming out pretty soon. So that whole marathon crew, you'll see them, getting out there and getting another experience or two in before the trials.
Yeah. Well, so it seems not uncommon, like Fauble, for example, in the build-up to New York, raced a number of under distances, including a half.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like that it wouldn't be surprising to see that approach with some of the athletes too, right? Maybe they're focusing on something shorter than the marathon come fall.
Yeah, we need to work on a number of different things. I mean, we need to be able to race.
Yeah.
The trials is going to be a race for sure. So, let's say an athlete like Scott Smith, for example, who has run Frankfurt in the fall of 17, Boston in the spring of 18, New York in the spring or in the fall of 18. Maybe since he didn't get to race quite as much because of the marathon build-ups, maybe he races a bunch this spring.
Sure. Yeah.
And runs 10Ks and halves and 25K and all these different things and just gets a lot of experience racing because the last 10K is what it's going to come down to.
Right.
Probably,
right.
At the trials. So we got to work on some of those things. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. Well, it'll be exciting to see. So with respect, I personally am very excited about the additions. Or potential additions.
Yeah.
When you mentioned January 1, but folks might get that news in
January. I think what we'll do is a similar situation to what we did with the women, where we'll round everybody up.
Yep.
And then we'll make an announcement on who the additions are, and then
I get to talk to him here. I hope.
Yeah, we'll have him on the pod, of course. I think in addition to the marathons, you'll see us on the track, running fast 5s and 10s this spring, leading into USA's, and then a variety of road races, of course. I mean, I don't think we shy away from racing. I hope that's one of the things our fans enjoy is that we don't just hole ourselves up and train in secret for months on end and then race once.
Right.
We get out there, we expose ourselves to various challenges throughout the year, and I think those challenges pay off on the big days.
Sure.
And that's how we do it, for better or worse, that's how we do it. And I think the athletes like it because it's daunting to look at the calendar and say, man, I'm not racing for 4 months,
Yep.
And look, for the athletes and the coaches that do it that way, I'm not against it.
Sure.
In some ways, I would do it that way if I could for some people, But I realize that they need to break up the monotony now and again.
A little bit, yeah.
And I realize that, I'm going to kick myself if we get to a major race and they make a mistake that they could have learned. They could have made that same mistake in an earlier race, learned from
mattered
it.
less.
Yeah. And then Steph is a great example. I know we've talked about her a lot, and rightly so, because she had such a great year. But she really figured out how to perform late in races over these last couple of years. And she did it by forcing herself to just start kicking at the end of these races.
Yeah.
And once she did it a couple of times, it started becoming a habit.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't done all those races and given her those opportunities, then maybe she's not out kicking Emily Sisson for third.
Right.
She did get out kicked by Sarah, but she kicked.
Yeah.
That's the point. You gotta get in the habit of bringing it at the end every single time. Maybe if Fauble doesn't do Great North and have that experience of going to the well for the last... I mean, he was hurting those last 4 miles. Maybe if he didn't have that experience, then maybe when his body's sending those signals in New York that, hey, this is getting tough, maybe he doesn't override them.
Correct.
But in New York, he was able to override them because he's been there before.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot. I learned a lot from this year and seeing those things happen and seeing those transitions taking place in the minds of the athletes and realizing the value of picking those races where they can learn something.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. Back to your question, when we plan out 2019, is calculated. I mean, some of the choices are based on the business side a little bit,
of course,
but a lot of them really are for the most part, these races are being chosen as steps toward whatever the biggest races are.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Well, if it's anything like 2019 will be exciting.
I hope so.
Yeah. So to finish off, just based on the amount of interest in this book with the pre-orders and so forth, I'm sure people will be curious. Might they expect anything like this again? From NAZ Elite. I mean, maybe not this exactly.
Maybe not from me. I mean, holy cow. I'm telling you, man.
A lot of time and energy.
We have busted our butts on this editing. I mean, the thing is, to have hired a real editor would have been a lot of money.
Sure.
And it's almost like running a small business. You got to make difficult choices on where to spend your money. And we felt like, look, we can edit it. It's going to take us a lot longer than a professional.
Right.
We can do it.
Yeah.
And then we'd rather spend some money maybe on the marketing side, on the back end. So,
or on the color photos.
That's right. Yeah. So editing it was rough. So it's not something I would sign up for as we sit here today, but maybe it's like having a baby or something, or running a marathon where you
don't ask them right after they finish.
Yeah. You forget after a while how difficult it was. No, I think if people love it and it turns out to be a big hit, I think we should think about how we can do things like this, whether it's a book or whether it's a series of blog posts or whatever.
Right.
I think we should think about how we can do that, especially for some of the things that are happening in 2020 that are going to be such a big deal. So I hope you're right. I hope it's a big success, and I hope we do it again.
Yeah. All right, Ben. Well, congrats on a successful 2018.
Thank you.
Looking forward to 2019.
Thank you, my friend.
You bet.
All right.
All right, guys. That's a wrap.
See ya.